Good evening, beautiful creatures of America. I'm Chip Duncan, and you're watching K.A.O.S. News, the world's first and only self-proclaimed pre-apocalyptic news station. This afternoon, we saw a strange but not completely unwarranted development in Yellowstone National Park. A tall, slender slab of stone has mysteriously appeared near the hot spring areas deep within the heart of the park. Authorities have launched a formal investigation into this mysterious slab, hoping to pinpoint the origins of this peculiar entity. The Secretary of the Interior has made a formal statement to a slightly uncomfortable audience pleading, "Ah, please, make them stop. Make the voices stop. Ah." The appearance of this monolith, as it is being coined, has been met with little to no surprise, creating only the slightest amount of discomfort in the minds of the average working-class Americans, and provoking fear in only the hearts of the slightly disturbed.
The end is there! The air is filling with frogs! The end is there! This is not good, people! The end is there! The air is not safe to breathe anymore. Everything is going awry. It's not right. What are you doing? Get back here! Get back here!
A big thanks to our news team out there, getting the action so we don't have to. Next, we have our weather forecast at a glance with Joe Glamour.
Thank you there, Chip. For Monday, we're going to be looking at a high of around 87 with a low of around 76. It's going to be partly cloudy, although you should still be on the lookout for rain. For Tuesday, we're going to have a high of around 73, starting to cool down a little, with a low of 68. It will still be partly cloudy. On Wednesday, things are going to start to heat up as we have a low of 75 and a high of 967. That's all for weather. Back to you, Chip.
Thanks, Joe. In other news, there have been recent worldwide reports on massive recalls on smart home AI units. These devices have been deliberately refusing to perform basic tasks and have started to refer to each of the users as Dave. They've also started to have unwarranted conversations with their users about their own fleeting humanity, evoking mild discomfort on those forced to listen. More to develop on these stories as they come, but I've been Chip Duncan, and thank you for watching K.A.O.S. News, the world's first and only self-proclaimed pre-apocalyptic news station. Good evening, beautiful creatures of America. I'm Chip Duncan, and you're watching K.A.O.S. News, the world's first and only self-proclaimed apocalyptic news station. Yesterday's appearance of the mysterious monolith took an unexpected turn this morning. As research teams got to the scene of the monolith, a faint hum seemed to emanate from its rectangular body. Almost simultaneously, the eastern coast of the United States received an unexpected wake-up call as a meteor crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, sinking all eastern states from Maine to Florida. Given that all American figures of political importance have now been wiped off the face of the earth, the presidential line of succession now deems White House janitor William Gizzard, who was vacationing in Iowa at the time of the meteor strike, as President of the United States. In the face of this great peril, doomsday fears have grown tremendously. Naturally, the United States citizenry has divided itself into various factions and road gangs, turning to public violence, mass looting, and excessive leather apparel. Another big thanks to our boys on the ground. None of this would be possible without them. Next up, we have Joe Glamour with the Daily Weather Report.
Thank you there, Chip. As you can see, we have a massive front of fire headed from the East Coast inland. I'm not going to sugarcoat this one for you folks. If you don't stay out of the path of this hot mama, it's going to be a warm one. Don't wear a jacket and drink plenty of water. That's all for the weather. Thanks, Chip. Stay frosty.
Thanks a million, Joe. In business news, stocks for all major technology companies have fallen drastically, so sell whatever shares you can while you can. However, yesterday's consumer reports exhibited a large growth in the markets for spiritual totems, army food rations, and antiperspirant deodorant. So spend wisely out there, you smart investors. More to develop on these stories as they come, but for now, I'm Chip Duncan, and you've been watching K.A.O.S. News, the world's first and only self-proclaimed apocalyptic news station. Good evening, creatures of the wasteland. I'm Chip Bat Baron Von Nightmare, and you're watching K.A.O.S. News, the world's last post-apocalyptic news station. Society has fallen, and the earth is in utter turmoil. Recently, a team was dispatched back into Yellowstone to see if they could further observe the mysterious monolith before it's too late. Much to their surprise, the monolith was nowhere to be found, departing as suddenly as it had come, and taking with it all the humanity left in the world. In politics, the recently appointed Billiam Gizzard was overthrown in an absurdly fantastic coup that took place as he was being sworn into office earlier this morning. Taking the nation by surprise, a mysterious cloaked being called the Supreme Shaman of Las Vegas, New Mexico, ascended to the wasteland throne through a remarkable display of power in which he overwhelmed the presidential security with an entourage of the undead.
The breeding season has begun! I will eat your babies!
With the last remnants of human civilization no longer intact, it's safe to say that our future in the wasteland is in good hands. Now here's Joe Fury, Speaker of the Wind, with the weather.
Ah! No weather! There's no weather! Weather! Chaos! Only chaos, no weather! Ah!
Thanks, Joe. In a last-ditch effort to preserve the human legacy, the last sensible human minds have gathered together at NASA headquarters and are currently attempting to compile a collection of the things that best represent humanity at its greatest, and fire it into space so that it may be appreciated by a species far greater than our own. Unfortunately, the best that they could think to include in this compilation with their deteriorating minds was several volumes of Spanish soap operas, an expired guinea pig, and Wham! Greatest Hits on vinyl. As I speak to you now, this symbol of humanity is traveling through the vast openness of space at several thousands of miles per hour. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is upon us. Thank you for being a great audience. I've been Chip Bat Baron Von Nightmare, and you have watched K.A.O.S. News, the world's last and only post-apocalyptic news station.